Later this week, we're going to be looking at a passage by a contemporary writer, Neil Postman, which looks at the vision of George Orwell's 1984 famous dystopian novel with, let me show you the picture here, Brave New World, which is our summer reading book, written by Aldous Huxley. And Aldous Huxley was professor of George Orwell, whose real name is Eric Blair. And they both present a different dystopian vision of the world, written relatively in the same time period in the first half of the 20th century, where Orwell's world and vision was based more on fear and pain as a way to control us. The world of Aldous Huxley is based more on pleasure and distraction as a way of controlling us. So who was right? All right, let's look at the passage we're going to be looking at later in the week. In the following passage, the contemporary social critic Neil Postman contrasts George Orwell's vision of the future, as expressed in the novel 1984, written in 1948, with that of Aldous Huxley in the novel Brave New World, 1936. Read the passage considering Postman's assertion that Huxley's vision is more relevant today than is Orwell's. Then, using your own critical understanding of contemporary society as evidence, write a carefully argued essay that agrees or disagrees with Postman's assertion. So what you're doing here is you're not analyzing the passage you see in front of you. You're trying to figure out and draw it out which is which. What is Orwell's vision? What is Huxley's vision? Postman thought, they're telling you already there in the prompt, that Huxley's was more valid for today's world. So you have to agree or disagree with that. And then, as your examples, as your evidence, you're going to use things that you know are happening in our world today with your own knowledge. Some of the things we discussed last week. Let me read the passage to you. We are keeping our eye on 1984, when the year came and the prophecy didn't. Thoughtful Americans sang softly in praise of themselves. The roots of liberal democracy had held. Wherever else the terror had happened, we, at least, had not been visited by Orwellian nightmares. But we had forgotten that alongside Orwell's dark vision, there was another slightly older, slightly less well-known, equally chilling, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Contrary to common belief, even among the educated, Huxley and Orwell did not prophesize the same thing. Orwell warns that we will be overcome by an externally imposed oppression. But in Huxley's vision, no big brother is required to deprive people of their autonomy, maturity, and history. As he saw it, people will come to love their oppression, to adore the technologies that undo their capacities to think. What Orwell feared were those who would ban books. What Huxley feared was that there would be no reason to ban a book, for there would be no one who wanted to read one. Orwell feared those who would deprive us of information. Huxley feared those who would give us so much that we would be reduced to passivity and egoism. Orwell feared that the truth would be concealed from us. Huxley feared the truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. Orwell feared we would become a captive culture. Huxley feared we would become a trivial culture preoccupied with some equivalent of the feelies, the orgy-porgy, and the centrifugal bumble-pumpy. As Huxley remarked in Brave New World Revisited, the civil libertarians and rationalists who are ever on the alert to oppose tyranny fail to take into account man's almost infinite appetite for distractions. In 1984, Huxley added, people are controlled by inflicting pain. In Brave New World, they are controlled by inflicting pleasure. In short, Orwell feared that what we hate will ruin us. Huxley feared that what we love will ruin us. All right, let's illustrate the point further. So we are comparing Huxley's vision of the world with George Orwell's vision of the world. All right, let's look at this. All right, what Orwell feared was that those who had banned books, and so these are the people who censor books and control what we read and take away our freedom for academic freedom. But Huxley believed had no reason to do that because who would want to read anyway? All right, we'd be so into other things that books is just something that's not cool to do. Orwell feared those who would deprive us of information. Huxley feared those who would give us so much that we would be reduced to passivity and egotism. Too many distractions, as you can see. Orwell feared the truth would be concealed from us. Huxley feared that the truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. So which is closer to our world? Orwell feared we would become a captive culture. Huxley feared we would become a trivial culture preoccupied with the equivalent of the feelies, the orgy-porgy, and the centrifugal bubble pumpy. As Huxley remarked in Brave New World Revisited, the civilitarians and rationalists are ever on the alert to oppose tyranny, fail to take into account man's almost infinite appetite for distraction. In 1984, people are controlled by inflicting pain. In Brave New World, people are controlled by inflicting pleasure.